There's a movie called Nightwatch: Demons Are Forever. It is a sequel to Nightwatch, which was directed and I believe written by Ole Bornedal. Bornedal? I don't know. Bruce, you can help me on that pronunciation. I hope I get it. Ole Bornedal. He directed the movie in 1994. That Danish movie was a big hit. Several years later, he made it into a remake starring Ewan McGregor. That remake was not as well received as the original. 94, 97. Like Eric was saying with the pitch people, that was 99. Then the 90s are back. Can you believe almost 30 years later, basically 30 years later, there is a sequel to Nightwatch called Nightwatch: Demons Are Forever. Bruce has done me one better. He's actually, I believe he saw Nightwatch maybe 30 years ago, or maybe recently. He can give a little bit of perspective. But Nightwatch: Demons Are Forever centers on a 22-year-old med student named Emma, played by Fanny Leander Bornedal. Yes, Fanny is the daughter of Ole. And so Emma, she takes a job at the Nightwatch. The Nightwatch is where the bodies are not buried. There's a lot of corpses in this area. And the reason why she takes this job is because that is the same area where her parents were traumatized 30 years ago. Her father is played by Nikolai Coster-Waldau. You might know him as the Kingslayer from Game of Thrones. He plays Martin. He was there in the original. He is not the Kingslayer in this movie. He's a shell of himself because even 30 years later, he is traumatized. He does not want to tell his daughter anything about what transpired 30 years ago. This is not a spoiler because this is setting the table for the plot. Martin is a widower, because his wife committed suicide years later. So while Martin is traumatized by what happened in 94, he's also traumatized by the suicide of his wife. The daughter is understandably traumatized by her mother's suicide. So she tries to get this job at this Nightwatch to find out what the heck happened. And then a lot of the characters from Nightwatch appear in the sequel. That's pretty much the setup. And you figure out what made that whole Nightwatch area so evil and despicable and violent and whatnot. Bruce, Nightwatch: Demons Are Forever. It runs 113 minutes, written and directed by Ole Bornedal. Does this movie work for you?
Sometimes, somewhat. I guess. Here's the problem with this movie. Or here is one of the weird things about this movie, I guess I'd say. First of all, I don't know how big this movie is was it Sweden, you said? Is that the homeland of this?
Yeah, it's a Danish movie, so I'm horrible. Yeah.
Denmark. Okay, yeah, Denmark. All right. So I don't know how big it is there, because this movie is presented to us like a requel, reboot quill, whatever you call them, of this legacy property, like a Scream or a Star Wars. Pick these movies that are beloved, right? And we're going to bring back kind of a new version of it, kind of the same, but also kind of new. And we'll bring back some legacy characters just so people can have those remembrances of what happened in the past. I don't know about most people in America. Maybe this was way more beloved than it was for me. I remember it being fine. I remember this being an okay thriller in its time. I don't remember it being super remarkable. Kind of memorable because it was, at that time, it was much more rare, I think, for international movies, genre movies especially, to kind of break big in America and have kind of this American appeal crossover. It didn't happen as much, I don't feel like, as it does now. There wasn't just the access, I don't think. But whatever the case is, this movie treats it like this is beloved property and that we're just waiting for this to happen. So that right out of the gate didn't quite work for me. I'm like, I don't remember it that well, but okay, sure. And they do a fairly good job in this movie of kind of filling in the gaps if you didn't know. They have some very exposition heavy moments to kind of say, hey, this is where your mom and I were hogtied and we were being terrorized by the guy. They go through some pretty big moments to let you know exactly what happened to the characters formerly. The problem I had with this movie is it's kind of like a 90s movie in a lot of ways, which may be good for some people. But boy, oh boy, is this movie like, who is the bad guy? It's pretty easy to figure out who the bad guy is in this movie. And then the other thing about this is kind of one of the big selling points of the original movie was, here's this guy, he has to go to this place every night. He's all alone as this night watch person in this creepy environment that's, housing all the corpses and all the medical stuff. And all of a sudden killings start happening. And wow, that's a great kind of a, semi-isolated setting for this to happen. And they introduce it again, like she's going to take her dad's job. That's crazy, but you're going to do it. Okay. She's going to take her dad's job. And then it really is never used much in this movie. It's kind of a red herring.
That's a very good point, Bruce. Yeah.
It's like it's there, but okay. And then You take all that, you take some sort of predictability of who the bad person really is and probably why they're doing what they're doing. It's pretty easy to figure out. Even if you don't figure that out, even if you figure it out and you don't care, there's so little threat in this movie. And I'm not going to spoil things, obviously, but there are multiple things that are supposed to be threats to multiple people that just really aren't very threatening. And the way they play out is very like, oh, okay, that's all it took to get rid of that threat. And take on top of that and add some super tropey stuff. For example, and once again, I won't say exactly the situation, but let's just say there's a character at one point who is trying to be very quiet because they're being stalked by another character. And the person who's trying to be very quiet at one point starts hammering on walls and yelling in the vicinity of the person that is stalking them. Stuff like that. And just if you're a fan of these kind of movies, it drives you crazy. It's like you got to have at least a modicum of logic, you know? So yeah, I think it was pretty mediocre at best.
Okay, so Emma, played by, again, Fanny Leander Bornedal. Again, she's the daughter of Ole Bornedal. I thought she was great in the movie. I thought she was fine.
She's fine. I have no problem with her.
Oh, no. I'm not saying that you did, but I don't want to. This gets into spoiler territory, but when you look at the actions that Emma did, as far as throwing a rock in a hornet's nest, the dominoes that fall inexplicably, just in this movie, it's like
I'm going to spit in the face of somebody. Let's just say that. Like, well, what?
Right.
On camera.
Be kind to people, please. And he just unrolls a whole domino effect, which leads a lot of people on the other side of living. Okay, that's one thing. Also, one of the most interesting moments and tense moments doesn't come from her character. One of her close friends, she's another woman. I don't have her name here. She's very good in this movie in a supporting role, and I was more interested in her sequence with possibly a perpetrator or a killer. And that felt really tense. So that's an added value because I thought that.
But that wrapped up really easily too.
Sure.
Yeah. That perpetrator had a moment where they escaped from someplace in one of the most ludicrous ways ever. If you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
A parade of sorts came by. Sure. I was like, what is happening?
Everything that Bruce is saying is true.
It's not true.
Again, my favorite director is Brian De Palma. There is some nonsensical stuff in Nightwatch, Demons Are Forever. Also, the pacing is off because at 113 minutes, Bruce, I don't know if you agree, this could have been a tight 90-minute thriller. And it goes on for quite a while and veers off to so many directions.
I'm thinking of a scene in a stadium that probably didn't have to be there at all.
Right. Yeah. Bruce, do you want a 5-minute diatribe on what I did in Thailand back in the day? No, not really.
Sure, why not? Let's just do it.
All that said, I love this movie. I love Nightwatch, Demons Are Forever. It is messy. It is all over the place. I can see a lot of the logical flaws, but I just had a great time with Nightwatch, Demons Are Forever. Love the performances. Really enjoyed the wrap up. I'm giving it 4 stars. I think this was a fun watch. I can't wait. And this is going to make me watch the original. So as far as the world building, Bruce, you were saying, maybe the first time you saw it 30 years ago. This is making me want to go see the original, which obviously it did not make you want to go see the original or rewatch it again. But for me, Nightwatch, Demons Are Forever, 4 out of 5 stars. It is streaming on Shudder starting May 17th. Bruce, any final thoughts or whatever, and your rating?
Yeah, I probably only go 2.5 stars. And for me, honestly, if he would have just remade the movie with his daughter in the lead and just remade it
again,
it would have been a better movie.
You want him to make it a third time? Oh,
I might as well. He's not doing anything better here. So
okay, all right. So
has any director ever remade their same movie 3 times?
I had to,
that would be something right there. A trilogy of the same movie.
Folks, if you're a fan of scalping,
I was going to say Sam Raimi, but he only did Evil Dead twice, and then Army of Darkness.
Folks,
a lot of them have made theirs twice, but I don't think anyone's ever made theirs 3 times.
Folks, if you're a fan of scalping and throat cuts, Nightwatch, Demons Are Forever might be for you. This is one of these things where I just had a good time. I know people might put me to task for the 4 out of 5. 2.5 stars for Bruce. Again, Friday, May 17th, streaming on Shudder. You can't run forever.
Ole.
What?
I'm just going to say Ole. Listen to me here. Listen up.
I like
you could be Bruce. The Chubby Checkers of filmmaking. You can keep making the same film over and over again. Just do it.
You're something else. Okay. Tell us most importantly, Bruce and I disagree with this. Watch it. Well, Bruce is going to tell you not to watch it, but tell us what you think. What camp do you lie on? Maybe Bruce will have Eric if you have time. If he has time, maybe he'll do a rewind and rewind. No, actually, Bruce, he shouldn't even do a rewind, huh? Bruce, no, no.
I mean, it's not terrible. He could. I mean, your mileage may vary on this one for sure. It's get a few drinks in you, a couple friends over. You probably have fun enough time.
I don't think I need to. And you know why?
Why?
I saw the Pitch People documentary. I already know how to sell this.
Very, very good, Eric.
Hey, listeners, are you a cult leader, a Satanist? Do you love to kill children at the wee hours of night? But your demons just keep getting expired. What you need is Nightwatch. Demons are forever. They always last. They cut, dice, slice, kill, maim. They do all that for the low price of $666.69 on Amazon Prime. Act now, because prices will go up by the end of the week.
Very good. Thank you so much for that, Eric.
5 stars.
3 stars.